Hello, BookTube, and welcome to another weekly reading vlog. Apologies in advance if I end up coughing at any point during this video. I still have this lingering cough. I'm still working my way through this cold. But anyways, these are the books that I'm currently working on this week. And then this past week, I also managed to post 4 videos. So, first of all, I finished Volume 8 of Buddha by Tezuka Osamu. And so filmed a review of that. And that was the last volume in the Buddha series. So then the following day, I did a video looking backwards at my thoughts on the whole series. Or I tried. I tried. Inevitably, I went on tangents. I lost my train of thought. I turned the camera off and I thought to myself, oh, completely forgot to mention this or that. But I tried to give my thoughts on the whole series. And then brought that book back to the library and got a different book out of the library. Batman Knightfall, which I ended up finishing off in 3 days. It was... for all its faults, it was very readable, something that pulled you in. So finished that off and did a video review. And then I did one travelogue video in my ongoing attempts to chronicle Ho Chi Minh City. I did the Tan Dinh Church. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but it known as the Pink Church. This huge pink church that is in the center of Ho Chi Minh City, and posted a video of that. Excuse me. So for this week, first of all, I've bought another book, so I'm counting this as a book haul. Dark is the Sun by Philip Jose Farmer. Apologies as always for my camera showing everything in mirror image. So I was walking past Book Street in Ho Chi Minh City where all the used books are sold. And I knew I shouldn't, but I thought I would browse anyways. And I have more unread books on my shelf than I know what to do with at this point. And I'm such a slow reader that it's getting ridiculous. But whenever you go through these used bookstalls, if you see something you want, you've got to grab it because it's not going to be there in a couple days. And I have been meaning for ages now to read Philip Jose Farmer. I'm not familiar with this particular book, but Philip Jose Farmer is somebody I've been hearing about for ages and have been meaning to get around to reading. So I just snatched this up. The other thing, this is a library book, so I'm not sure if I count this as a book haul, but got this out of the library today. I've just barely started it, just a couple pages into it. But yeah, this is Mighty Marvel Masterworks Captain America. So these are a collection of tales from Captain America when he was in Tales of Suspense, sharing the title with Iron Man. And I believe these were the first Captain America issues. I mean, he made his, well, sorry. The first ones since Stan Lee brought him back, not counting his appearances in the Avengers. I'm not sure at what point he got his own magazine. But here he is appearing in Tales of Suspense. And then continuing to read the Linguistic Wars, I am now up to page 104. Finding this, as I expected, to be a bit heavy. So it's something I really have to concentrate on and read slowly. But I'm also finding I'm understanding the linguistics of this much better on the second edition. I feel like the explanation of why the what's the name? The generative semantics model originated from the Chomsky revolution is much more clearly and step-by-step explained in the second edition than it was in the first edition. So far, I'm largely hanging on, and I'm glad I'm reading it. And then Journey to the West, Volume 2. I am now up to page 990. I was reading this at work the other day, actually, and somebody was asking me about it, and they asked, how is it? And I said, it's actually surprisingly good. The only thing is it just goes on and on and on. And he said, well, that doesn't sound like it's very good. Something that just goes on and on and on. And I said, well, okay, yeah, you're right. I'm not making it sound very good, but it is. That is how this book is. If I can explain this, maybe, it's, I'm on page 990. That's kind of densely printed. It is. I'm not even halfway through. This is only the second volume. I've got the third and the fourth volume to finish after this. So it does just kind of go on and on and on. And I knew that before I started, that was its reputation. But I am, yeah. On one hand, like I said, I'm accumulating all these unread books on my bookshelf that I would love to read instead of this. Partly, I've always been this way. I've always gotten like halfway through a book and then wanted to read a different book instead of the book I'm reading. I can never make up my mind about what I want to read. But it's particularly a problem when you're reading this huge epic, which just goes on and on and on. But the individual episodes in here are still quite enjoyable. So, again, if you're not familiar with the plot, it's a Buddhist monk who's journeying west to India from China to get the Buddhist scriptures, and accompanied by a monkey and a pig and a dragon disguised as a horse and a guy called Friar Sand. And in the parts I read for this week, where I left off last week, the monk was captured by a demon who wanted to eat his flesh because eating the monk is so pure and holy that eating his flesh would guarantee long life. The monkey was not able to defeat the demon, so they went off to get how do you say her name again? Guanyin, I think. Sorry, let me look this up a minute. The Bodhisattva, Guanyin. Apologies. This has come up so much in the book that I really should know how to pronounce it by now. But it's not something I use every day in conversation. The Bodhisattva Guanyin, aka the female Buddha. The one you see when you see statues of the female Buddha in China or Japan or anywhere in Asia. I think that's who that is. I think. So, this is one of the things that happens in a lot of different parts of this book, is that when the monkey, when he encounters demons he can't defeat, he just goes elsewhere for help. And on the one hand, you think, well, okay, that's cheating. If he can go elsewhere for help and call on other gods and goddesses at any time, then that defeats the whole purpose of the story of their journey and them encountering and overcoming obstacles. But on the other hand, every time he does it, the imagination or the descriptions of the different heavenly kingdoms are so much fun that I just largely forgive it. So in this one, he goes to the Bodhisattva to ask for help, and she throws her vase, vase in British English, vase in American English. Sorry, I've been hanging out with British people too much. She throws her vase into the ocean. And the monkey thinks that she did it just because she was angry. And he says, well, calm down, Bodhisattva. But then this sea creature returns with the vase, and in with the vase is like all the waters of the ocean. And so then she also goes with the Bodhisattva has a novice who's called Huayan, who's also he's known as Huayan the novice, but he's also one of the princes of heaven, Moxa. He's come up in this book before. She sends him up to heaven to talk to his father to get these like spears to make a pavilion. And she travels in that pavilion, and then they meet the demon, and they trick the demon into sitting in her seat, and then it turns back into spears and pierces through the demon's leg. And then the demon is at her mercy, but then she gets the demon to convert to Buddhism. And then I think that is the end of that episode. So again, and a couple times she pours out. This was the demon that controlled the fire, so she pours out the vase to surround the mountain with water after rescuing every living thing off of it first. And then they continue on into their journey till they get to the next adventure. So this is a river that's completely black, and they need to find a way across it. Now the monkey and the pig and everybody have all these special powers. They can fly up on clouds, but they can't carry anybody up on the clouds. So the Buddhist monk, who doesn't have any superpowers, needs a way to get across the river. So and it's for whatever reason. Well, we find out later why, but it's a black river. It's like completely inky black. I think they are trying to figure out why it's so black, and they guess maybe somebody spilled their ink in it or something. So that there's a ferryman who comes up, and they get the ferryman to agree to take their master, but the ferryman is actually one of a demon in disguise. He's the one who's controlling the river and making it black. So when he gets in the boat with the Buddhist monk, he captures the Buddhist monk and takes him down into his palace underneath the river, or below the river waters. And then, excuse me. He's yet another monster who wants to eat the Buddhist monk because the Buddhist monk is so pure that his flesh will, eating his flesh will give you long life. I was warned before I started this book that it was very repetitive. So we've got yet another monster capturing the monk, and yet again the monkey has to rescue the monk. So there's a couple different battles. I think first Friar Sand goes to fight the river demon and gets defeated. And the river demon is a crocodile. So the demons in this book, or the spirits, are various animals who over the course of studying the way, or refining their content, refining their what is it called? Refining the character, can acquire special powers. So it's not only humans that can acquire powers in these books by studying Buddhism or Taoism. The animals can do it as well. So this is a crocodile who's acquired these powers. And then before the monkey goes to fight him, the river god comes out and asks for help. And they say, well, what are you doing here? And the river god said, well, because I'm so old, I couldn't fight this evil demon. So he was just able to take over my river. And he said, they said, well, why didn't you go complain to the other heavenly deities? And he said, yeah, I went to complain to the sea dragon, but because this river demon was one of his nephews, the sea dragon sided with the river demon and dismissed my complaint. And then he said, I tried to complain to heaven, but they wouldn't admit me because I was too minor of a deity, and it was the sea dragon's jurisdiction anyways. And it's not explicitly stated in my volume. My volume doesn't really have any notes on cultural context or anything like that. But I've heard it said of this book that it's quite often a satire on the bureaucracy of the Chinese government at the time, or the emperor's court at the time, and how favoritism allowed people to get away with different things. So I suspect that's what's going on here. So the monkey goes to see the sea dragon and explains what's going on. And the sea dragon knows the monkey. He says, oh, this is the great sage that overturned heaven 500 years ago. So the sea dragon is convinced to send one of his sons to dislodge his nephew. So one of his sons, one of the sea dragon's sons, comes in with the army, and he tries to talk some sense into his cousin, the river demon, the alligator, and say, we can't fight against this monkey. He's too powerful. You have to give up the priest. And the alligators, or the crocodile, is it alligator or crocodile? I forget. Sorry, one moment. It's referred to as the alligator. It's referred to as the alligator. The alligator refuses and sends out his army. And so then there's this huge fight underwater in the river, with each of them having their army of sea creatures. And it's described in this poem here. The narrative will frequently break into poems. And I just thought this was so great to imagine. This is one of the things I love about this book, is there are all these scenes which are just so great to imagine. So it says, dazzling banners, gleaming halberds. The encampment was quickly broken up, while the gates of the palace were opened wide. This is the palace underneath the river. Prince Moan, that's the son of the sea dragon, wielded his golden mace. That alligator parried with his flail. Fierce were the river soldiers as the cannon roared. I guess there must be cannons being fired underwater. Wild were the ocean warriors as the gong was beaten. Shrimp fought with shrimp, so there were shrimp on both armies, and crab with crab. Whales and giant turtles swallowed red carp. Bream and carp set mollusks running. The shark and the mullet put the mackerel to flight. The mussels all panicked when oysters captured clams. The swordfish barbs were hard as iron rods. The barracuda's needles were sharper than spears. Sturgeons chased the white eel. Perch and herring seized the black pomfret. The river was full of battling demons, while both sides dragon warriors contended. The long melee stirred up the waves, etc. These scenes that we get in this book, there's several different scenes in this book of various underwater armies, where all the underwater creatures, the shrimp and the crab and the sturgeon and the mollusks, all are marshaled out as if they are in an army. I think in volume 1 there was a passage where they were all in armor, all these different underwater creatures. I just love imagining all the different scenes in this book, even if it does go on and on and on. It's just so much fun to imagine this kind of stuff. So making slow progress on this book, but still enjoying it. And that's all for this week.